It's time for Come and Talk It with your host, Michael Cargill, brought to you by Texas Law Shield. Over the last decade, Michael has championed and supported the rights of law-abiding Texans to own and use firearms. He is the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, a veteran of the United States Army, and has achieved national exposure in such prestigious media outlets such as Forbes Magazine, Fox Business News, CNN Money, AOL, BBC World News, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Cargill vigorously defends lawful gun ownership in this country without regard to party politics. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. People are flocking here in droves, as we're known for having some of the best quality of life in Texas. Austin boasts the esteemed University of Texas at Austin, one of the top public universities in the nation with over 50,000 students. The Texas State Capitol, one of our oldest and most historic buildings, lies in the heart of the city and represents the people of our great state. Zilker Park boasts an impressive view of the downtown skyline. Hiking trails, Barton Springs, and Lady Bird Lake are all within walking distance, making it a center of Austin recreation. Homeless encampments are yet another one of Austin's main attractions, thanks to Mayor Steve Adler repealing the camping ban. You'll frequently find them under bridges, along highways, or just lining the streets, just as our mayor wanted.
The Austin Fire Department confirmed overnight that the homeless campfire that spread to the historic Buford Tower last night was deliberately set. But officials are still looking into why someone did it.
This has been a message from Come and Talk It, helping you keep Austin safe.
Keeping Austin safe. Good day, Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. Let's praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. All right, so, man, I tell you, that's our PSA, public safety announcement from Austin, Texas, the Austin homeless. And also, you know, our election is coming up. So we want people to know when you're moving to Austin, Texas, what you have to look forward to. We have the University of Texas. We have the tallest capital in the country, in this nation. And also we have the most homeless. The most homeless we're the capital. We're the what is it?
The homeless capital of North Texas.
No, the homeless capital of the world. That's right. So, and today inside the studio, we have Cody Wilson. Cody.
Hey.
Man, I miss our brunch.
Yeah. We got to figure that out. I thought COVID kind of put the...
You don't like to have brunch with me anymore?
No, where would we go?
Well, I don't want to tell people where we go, but I love the fact that we do brunch. I miss that.
Yeah, let's do it again.
I miss breaking bread.
We'll have more time for brunch when we're out of work and unemployed because of Biden.
Yeah. So Cody we got to talk about this whole thing of President Biden, this current administration. They want to ban ghost guns. They also want to ban stabilize and brace, or AR pistols. We're going to talk about that today. And Cody, what do you think about banning ghost guns? How is that going to work? First of all, what is a ghost gun?
Well, Democrats and liberals, I'm sorry, without regard to politics, progressives like to win by slogans. And the latest slogan they have in the war on guns and your Second Amendment is a ghost gun. And that is any gun that they don't know about or that doesn't have a serial number. Of course, what they won't tell you is that the epidemic of quote-unquote ghost gun violence in this country is produced by those guns, which are already serialized and have had their serial numbers removed. But they've, found this new front because they've actually accepted our argument over the years that if anyone can 3D print or make their own gun at home, why the gun control lobby is effectively useless.
And so we're saying what? This current administration wants to ban ghost guns. They're saying, hey, we don't want you to have these type of firearms because they're not serialized. And so they want to, make you serialize them and go into the gun store and buy them?
Joe Biden wants a lot of things, right? Presidents want things. And that doesn't mean he can get them because he's not a legislator, right? He probably wants to run for a second term, but that doesn't mean it'll happen. What he can do,
he's not going to survive a second term.
He could tell you that he wants it all day long. But anyway, Joe can tell his ATF, hey, under the powers that you have, ATF, I'd like you to somehow stretch the definitions of what you consider to be firearms to grab at and to enclose on people's ability to make a gun at home. But I don't think there's a neat way to do it. So what you have is a mix of marketing and press coverage and things that actually confuse the issue for people. You heard maybe last week that Joe is going to do a bunch of stuff and tell the DOJ to do a bunch of stuff about ghost guns, but it is not actually clear what he even can do. And we're all going to have to wait and see what his draft proposed rulemaking is that the ATF will run out with. I've heard a lot of things. We can talk about them today, but I don't think Joe can get it done.
And so what he's saying is, so he wants the DOJ, the Department of Justice, to come up with something that he can write a executive order for.
Yeah, I mean, the centerpiece of Joe's announcement the other day was, hey, if I really had everything I wanted, I'd get rid of PLACA. And people are like, well, who cares if you got that? And then the other thing he said was, I'd like to announce an ATF director who is at Waco and is a gun control activist. Again, not necessarily something that I think he can get, but when he mentioned the ghost gun thing, that means I'm going to tell the ATF to begin a rulemaking process. And we saw how that worked at the end of last year when ATF tried to take their first swipe at the braces again. He's saying they're going to take that second swipe at braces. And it's become an objective from the outgoing ATF, the ATF under Trump. They see polymer 80 kits and 80% receivers and home-built guns through 3D printing as a problem. They want to do what they can outside of Congress to address it. I'm just telling you, I don't see that they have too much that they can do without the industry, the NRA, and SSF viciously opposing it, stopping it in the court.
Right. And so now they want to do stabilizing braces also. So a lot of people, I got so many phone calls from people. It's crazy. And emails from people and, instant messenger. Of people that are concerned about their stabilizing brace, text messages, everything. I really have to turn my phone off and just say, you know what, I'm not going to answer any calls right now because people are worried. What do I do, Michael Cargill, with my stabilizing brace that I have, my AR pistol? Because now they're saying they're going to ban those. And it's not that they're banning them.
That's right. They're not going to ban them.
They're not banning them. What they're doing is,
like Joe would want to do with all guns, he wants to make you register your stabilized pistol or AR on the NFA.
Which does not, it really, and honestly, okay, this is how it is. It does nothing. So what we're saying is you have to go through the NFA process like a machine gun suppressor. And it's not that it's banned. It's going to be the fact that you either have to take it apart, and I'm not an attorney. I cannot give you legal advice, okay? But you either have to take it apart or bring it to the gun store, let the gun store hold on to it, either one of those things. And then you have to, request, a tax stamp, do a Form 1 and do a tax stamp, pay the fee and wait for the tax stamp to come in. And then you can put it back together, or you can come into the gun store and pick it up, So those are going to be your options.
Yeah, the NRA has a good point about this, though. I mean, it's kind of a procedural win. What Joe is telling you is, hey, I don't like stabilized pistols because they're deadly and dangerous. Maybe that's true, but what he really knows about it is as many classes and categories of things he can put on the NFA means that's as many classes and categories of things that, you're going to decide it's just not worth it for me to do that work. I don't want to pay the tax. I don't go through the thing. What did Mike just say about coming to the gun store? Forget about it, right? They want to starve and kind of squelch as much of this new commercial activity in our industry.
And keep in mind, what we're talking about is all these shootings that they're talking about. The shooting that happened in Georgia, which actually sparked all this stuff. The guy goes into the massage parlors and he starts shooting up the massage therapist or whatever, getting his inside the, under the table hand job or whatever it was. So he starts shooting those individuals right there.
Over the table.
Yeah, right. What, over the table? Okay, over the table. All right, so he starts shooting those people right there. And so it's that guy actually purchased a handgun legally from a gun store that day and did that shooting. That had nothing to do with AR pistols, but they're focusing on AR pistols. Universal background checks, that what they're trying to pass has nothing to do with the handgun that he purchased because he went through a background check. So whatever they're doing, all these different rules, all these different, these different things they're trying to change would not affect that shooting. That shooting would have still happened because this guy got a background check, he used a handgun, and he still carried out that shooting. You cannot legislate crazy. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Folks, this is Doug Man Jones. And I get my gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, we're going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
Traffic stop at BP.
Now we're going to go into, I want to talk about this traffic stop that happened by an Army lieutenant who was stopped by a police department. I believe it was the state of Virginia. Do I have that right? Windsor, Virginia. And so I want to get into this traffic stop here and how it broke down.
How many occupants?
Right, so for those people that are listening on the radio, the purpose of the traffic stop is that police officers saw this guy who was driving along in a black, dark vehicle.
It's only myself. Why are your weapons drawn? What's going on?
Open the door slowly.
They could not see his license plate, so that's why they initiated the traffic stop, because he couldn't see a license plate. The problem is, he had a license plate. It was a brand new vehicle. He had a temporary plate that was taped to the window of the vehicle. They just didn't see it right away. But once you get to a certain point in the video, you actually see the temporary plate in the vehicle. So the officer calls this in as a felony traffic stop. All it is they didn't see a person's license plate.
Keep your hands outside the window. My hands are right here.
They immediately get out of their vehicle. They're pointing guns at this lieutenant, who's military.
Get out of the car now. I'm serving this country, and this is how I'm treated. Yo, guess what? I'm a veteran, too. I'm going to obey. Get out of the car. What's going on? Get out of the car now. What's going on? What's going on is you're fixing to ride the lightning, son.
Now, ride the lightning, that's a term that's used in a movie, meaning that you're getting ready to send this person to the electric chair.
Get out of the car now.
Just so you know.
Get out of the car.
Sir, just get out of the car. Work with us and we'll talk to you. Get out the car.
You received an order. Obey it. I'm honestly afraid to get out. Can I? Yeah, you should be. Get out. What's going on?
He says, I'm afraid of getting out of the car, and the officer responds, you should be.
You're being stopped for a traffic violation. You're not cooperating at this point right now. You're under arrest for a traffic. You're being detained. Okay, you're being detained for obstruction of justice. Traffic violation. I do not have to get out the vehicle. You haven't even told me why I'm being stopped.
That actually is not correct.
Get out of the car now.
Officer can get you out of the vehicle if they want to.
Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Back up there. I didn't do anything. Don't do that.
Sir,
get out of the car now.
Hey, sir,
get out of the car now. Don't do. I'm trying to talk to you.
Okay.
I'm trying to
I'm gonna
talk.
get out. Just get out of my car.
Can you please relax? Can you please relax?
Get out of the car right now.
This is not how you treat a vet. I'm actively serving this country, and this is how you're gonna treat me. I didn't do anything. Whoa, hold on. What's going? Hold on. Watch it.
Air 4 OC deployed. Get out of the car. Get out of the car now.
The
car now. Sir, just get out of the car.
I'm trying to breathe.
Get out of the car now.
That's up. That's really up.
Yeah, get out of the car and get on the ground now. You're gonna get it again.
I don't even want to reach my seatbelt. Can you
take your seatbelt off and get out of the car?
Can you please
get out of the car now? Listen, take off your seatbelt and get out of the car.
Look, I'm just gonna please.
You're gonna do what you're told. Get out of the car.
Look.
Take your seatbelt off and get out of the. Look. Take your seatbelt off.
Look, my hands are out.
Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car.
My hands are out.
Don't reach in there, Daniel. Don't reach in there.
My hands are out. Please. Please. Look. This is really messed up. My dog is in the back. My dog is choking right now.
Get out of the car. Take your seatbelt off. What are you, a specialist, corporal? What are you?
I'm a lieutenant.
Lieutenant, get out of the car. Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car. You made this way more difficult than it had to be. You just complied. Get out of the car.
I'm reaching for my seatbelt.
Fine. Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car. Straight on the ground. Straight onto the ground.
Ma'am. Is your commanding officer available?
Now, let's go.
Is your commanding officer available?
Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Please talk to me.
Get on the ground now. Get on the ground, you're getting sprayed again. Get on the ground.
Can you please talk to me about what's
going on? Get on the ground. Get on the ground now.
Can you please talk to me about what's going on? Get on the ground. Can you please talk to me about what's going on?
Yes, sir. You're not.
Can you please talk to me about what's going on? Why am I being treated like this? Why?
You're not cooperating. Get on the ground.
Why am I being treated like this? This is really messed up. This is really messed up.
Sir, what? Just what?
This is really, this is up.
Sir.
Sorry. You know this
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about this video, okay? Because I get this question in class all the time. When you come in contact with law enforcement, you know, how should you act? Some of the things you should do, some of the things you should not do. And I tell people you have to put yourself, whether you're a police officer or a civilian, you have to put yourself in someone else's shoes. They're other, look at it from their viewpoint. So I like to look at incidents in class, neutral. I kind of look at this from a police officer standpoint. I like to look at it from a civilian standpoint as well. I try to remove color from it. It's hard to do that because the media pulls us into color. And then also you got to think about, why do we have law enforcement? The reason you have police, you got to go back to like the 1600s, and because, you have posses. Posse in the South, in the southern states, you had police officers because they were tasked, posses were put together to recover runaway slave, to retrieve runaway slaves. And that's why you had posses, and they grew to police. So you have to go to that time frame and see, how did we get to this point where we are today? And then you say, that's why some people are actually afraid of law enforcement. And you honestly, we just have to admit this and, and say, hey, that's why some blacks are afraid of police because of, it's something that's just ingrained. I have no idea. It's been here for decades, for years, and that's where we are today. So now let's speed forward a little bit. All right, so now you have this case here where this guy's being pulled over. He's a lieutenant in the United States Army. All right, the police officers see this vehicle driving along that they did not see the license plate because the police officer's probably looking down where the license plate should be, and then notice the fact that the temporary tag is actually in the window. Well, then he calls it in as a felony traffic stop. So immediately they get out of their vehicles with guns drawn. Well, I'm telling you right now off the bat, I have police officers pointing guns at me. I'm not moving. I don't care what they say. I don't care what's going on. I'm not moving because you have your gun pointed at me. And if I made a wrong move or some type of move that you do not like, I can get shot and die. So I'm very hesitant in moving. Anyone that says that, you're going to, at that point, you're going to do exactly what the officer says, you're a fool. Because if you move, that officer can pull the trigger and shoot you. And guess what? He'll be justified because he'll say, I thought I saw a gun. I thought I saw a gun. So this guy he's afraid to move. He puts his hands out the window and he signals this and says, hey, I don't want to move. You know, you got your gun pointed at me. I don't know what's going on. The reason it took him so long to pull over in the first place is because you got to go back to the fact that a lot of people are afraid when they're pulled over by police. He wanted to pull over in a lighted area where, you know, there's lights in a gas station, where, you know, there are cameras, where something, you know, was to happen, then, you know, it's well lit. And that was the purpose of him pulling over in the gas station and taking a little time to pull over initially. He was not speeding. He was going like 18 miles an hour, you know, and pulled into the gas station. So now let's go back. Let's take a look at this incident. Body language is very important to me. Stop playing chess, people. You guys play chess. Let's move this, this piece. Let's move this piece. Checkers. I like to play chess, not checkers. And that's the issue. So I look at the body language of the two police officers. The one police officer, he was not the first vehicle that was in charge of the stop. He jumped in and took over. Immediately went to straight aggression, being very aggressive in the traffic stop. The second police officer, the younger guy, he actually, if you look at his body language, he gets to a point where he doesn't even want to be there. He's looking like, oh man, this is not right. Something's not wrong here. I don't even want to be here. At some point, if you look really good, he's not even looking at the lieutenant, the guy that's in the vehicle. He's looking off somewhere else, and like he doesn't even want to be there at that point in time. His body language tells me a lot. The fact that he knows that this traffic stop is going in a direction that it did not have to go. So he then reaches in the vehicle to try to help this guy get out of the vehicle. He couldn't find where the door lock was, or the controls for the door lock, because they're not where he was reaching his hands to get him out of the vehicle. And then they pepper spray him. Well, they pepper spray him. Now, not only is he afraid to get out of the vehicle, his hands are up. Now he cannot see. So he can't see. They're telling him to get out of the vehicle. His eyes are closed. He can't see. And so you're like, get on the ground. Well, you know what? My eyes are closed because my eyes are burning. I can't get on the ground. It's like one thing after the other. Do you know that when I'm at the gun range and I'm giving instructions to people at the gun range, there are times when I have people that are nervous, they're shaking, they're scared, and I've had people come to tears. Well, you know what? I kind of speak with a very harsh voice. So after that moment in time, bring my voice down and say, okay, what's going on? So tell me what's happening here, and find out what's going on with this person and why they're afraid right now. And then I need to address their fears. I have to change the way I'm talking. But you know what? There are police officers that are incapable of this because of fear. And people need to admit it. You just got to admit you're afraid of black men. You just got to admit that. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at the situation. You got to go back to the 1600s and realize where we are today. My call-in number is 512-643-5483. That's 512-643-5483. If you're afraid of black men, just admit it. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so our calling number is 512-643-5483. That's 512-643-5483. 512-643-LIVE. Give me a call. Tell me where I'm wrong. All right, Anthony. Anthony disagrees with me.
Well, no, I disagree.
In the mic.
Sorry, not that I disagree with you, but it just seems that if you don't comply with the police in that kind of situation, it only escalates the situation.
I didn't say not complying.
No, but you said you wouldn't move, and that's
at the point you point your gun at me, I'm not moving.
Right.
Then I'm freezing.
They had guns drawn throughout that.
So yes, the entire time I'm not moving.
But then they're just going to.
I can show you 20 videos right now of someone that when the police officer said freeze.
Yeah, and they still got clapped anyway.
And then they pull their gun out, and that person moves. And they shoot them.
Yeah, so that video could have gone either way. That could have been a flip of a coin, and that could have been another black guy protest, right?
Because he's dead.
Yeah, right. And so it's one of those things where
all because of license plate.
Yeah, because when you're in that situation, you're a little screwed either or, right? Like you either comply and run the risk of getting shot, or you don't comply and they just whack more charges on you and screw you over.
But he's good to go because he's gonna get $1 million. But he's alive.
But that's
he didn't move.
He
didn't move. He will get $1 million. He's alive, and his attorney will sort this out in court.
That's not acceptable to me because I don't want the $1 million. I don't want to be put in that position. Period. Like we as citizens should not be put in this position by our government, regardless of the compensation.
Oh, he's broke.
Yeah, so am I. Wouldn't I love $1 million too?
This guy's broke. He's broke. This guy literally cried. He cried like a baby on the ground. His spirit has been broken.
He would look a lot better if his body was broken. Like no. I'm just what I see there is I see like incredibly aggressive cops, screaming at someone, and that's one of those. That's really is one of those situations that could have gone either way. That could have been another dead black guy again, and they're just sort of lose situations.
If you were in that situation, you would have been shot.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then we're here we are.
Right. Well, I mean, like again,
so that's the wrong way to go.
No,
because if I'm dead, then I can't argue this in court.
I do understand that, but again, I think there's a bigger problem at hand here. That the fact that our government is like heinously abusing a citizen there, and we just have to endure it and then hope that the justice system comes and corrects it later down the line.
Oh,
there's a bigger
Lady
problem.
Justice don't care about you because you're black.
Right. So again, it seems like we're dealing with kind of a rotten system.
My telephone number is 512-643-5483. Come and talk it. Tell me when I'm wrong.
Well, we kind of had this nice little perfect storm combination of the personalities there, right? This gung-ho cop that's saying, you're going to ride the lightning and you should be afraid.
He comes out the bat saying that.
That's not cop training, right? Where he's saying like, when screaming stuff,
you know how comfortable he was in saying that?
Oh my God, he loves
it. He was very comfortable.
That was his Viagra.
You know why? Because he said that before.
Oh,
he's been in this situation before.
I mean, he says that to his wife when he's hitting that.
Oh,
you will obey.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you got that guy.
He definitely beats his kids and beats his wife.
Yeah, thin blue line, baby.
Oh, he's definitely a wife beater. You can tell by that. My telephone number is 512-643-5483.
You got this cop that's over the edge, and then you got a guy in the car who is not obeying orders. And so,
don't blow up in your vehicle while you're driving on I-35 and upset me. Don't look at it on Facebook on your phone and all mad at Michael Cargill. My telephone number is 512-643-5483.
In fairness, should the paper plates have been actually over where the original plate should be?
And here's the things that I tell people. Okay, when I have a new vehicle, and so what I do is I put the temporary plate in plastic. and I tape it
into the same position.
The same position where the regular license plate
Agreed.
goes.
That's what I do too.
If for some reason it comes loose, it gets lost, whatever, I go directly to the dealership. I get another one and put it back at that same place.
You can get it online as well.
Right. I don't want to put myself in that type of position that this guy's in. I tell people to comply. You got to comply with police. You comply with their initial commands and don't put yourself in this predicament.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You should
This
avoid
police
it.
officer this second guy was dead set on being
wanted to catch
very
a body.
aggressive.
Absolutely.
There's no way. He has no other way. He knows no other way. This guy is a wife beater.
Can I
You
just
can look at
quickly
him.
circle back?
You can listen to him and tell he's a wife beater. He's a bad cop. And the other cop knew he was a bad cop. And by the way,
the other cop was really hesitant.
My
Really
telephone number is 512-643-5483.
And I gotta say, even if you comply, it doesn't matter. You guys remember Daniel Shaver from Mesa, Arizona? He was shot. He was complying. He was crawling on the floor. They told him not to move, and they still shot him.
You know that cop? I think that cop is up.
It was a SWAT officer. It wasn't a police. It was.
Is that the dude who had like "your F" written on the rifle?
Yes.
Yeah. He's up in like Leander right now.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Closer to home,
he's super close right here. He
What
changed police
what
force.
kills me in all these cases, I look at even the what is it, George Floyd. What kills me is the fact that there's some people out there. I can't think of these professional man. Some of these people out here are saying that George Floyd, in that case, the police officer, Officer Chauvin, didn't have his knee on the guy's neck, and that's not the point. The point is, if I put you on the ground and I put my body, my full weight, I have one knee either on your back, your neck. I put my other knee on the lower portion of your body. I'm pressing down on your body with the full weight of my body. I can push the air out of your body. And then there's another police officer who's holding down your leg so you can't move.
There's actually three.
It was three.
I
At one point,
guarantee
it was
you,
three.
I can suck the life out of your body. And any idiot that watches that video and says that this guy, that police officer did not literally suck the life out of this guy's body is a fool. You are a complete fool. Why? Because you can literally look at this video and you can watch where he takes his very last breath. You see the bubbles coming out of his mouth, and you don't have a care 1 inch of life in your body if you can't see that and understand. He literally sucked the life. This guy's soul left his body right on that video.
Unacceptable. And I actually got a question for Cody because you seem a little bored over here. Do you think we wouldn't even need police? Do you think we'd even need police if we were all armed, man?
It's just like culture war graft, man. I mean, I get it because it's a radio show, but it's like police as a structure. You have a bad history of it, political, philosophically. You made it about race, and Virginia's got its problems.
He's a
for lot
wounded
of
bird.
reasons.
We got to poke him a little bit.
Virginia's problems have more to do with immigration than police reform. So it's just not an issue that I like to participate in. I hate the policeman in that video and the lieutenant in that video. Sounds like an idiot, especially for reasons before the stop. So I'm on nobody's side. They're both idiots.
But that wasn't an answer to his question.
Police is a French word, and it means foreign oppression. As far as I'm concerned, America did really well without a professional police force for a long time. And why did it do that? The answer is.
No, but what's the answer to his question? Not the answer about police. We can all go on Wikipedia.
We're gonna slap him after the show.
But it's a topical question. The reason why he's asking you is because you've contributed quite well. Well, you can very well. You're essentially
Look,
the
man,
founder
you
of
think
Ghost Guns.
You know why?
So
I know why he's asking me the question. Do I think people should be able to defend themselves and police themselves? Yeah, I think.
No, but if we're in an armed society, should we have a police in the first place?
We are in an armed society.
No, not enough.
Believe me, there are more guns than people in this country, and that's a reason that we
No.
have police. Apparently, if you ask Joe Biden, who apparently we're gonna talk about at some point in this show.
You're beating me up right now. So let's go back to Mr. Biden then. All right, so let's go back to the president and what the president wants to do. All right, so President Biden wants to ban our AR pistols, or stabilizing braces. And by the way, if this does happen, we're going to file a lawsuit against this administration because I actually have a metal plate and 7 screws in my left wrist.
Ooh.
I'm a disabled veteran, and the reason I have a stabilizing brace is so I can actually fire my AR pistol, effectively, and I can actually fire it, and actually it stabilizes my arm, so I can actually discharge the firearm. So that's why I use an AR pistol stabilizing brace. So we're going to file a lawsuit against this administration if they make me get a tax stamp, and they're not banning them. They're making you get a tax stamp. And I told you what your options are because people are calling me, what are my options, Michael? What's going to happen? I have a stabilizer brace. There's like millions of them in the country. So what do? Take it apart. I cannot give you legal advice, but you can take it apart. So it's not a rifle. You can't turn it from a pistol to a rifle, but you can go from a rifle to a pistol. So you can take it apart by 2 pins, separate it from the upper and the lower receiver, or you can bring it to the gun store, fill out the form, pay the $200 fee, get your trust, however you want to do it, wait for the ATF to approve you, and then you can take your stabilizing brace, your SBR home.
We got to see what the proposed rule is, right? We saw what it was at the end of the year. Do you remember the rule that they had at the very end of the year last year?
No.
I forgot the exact details of it, but they wanted to get by with a 14-day comment period and just kind of ram it through. So now they have to act like.
Well, he's probably going to do executive order though.
No, I think he's directed. When I looked at the fact sheet the White House put out, he's directing ATF rulemaking on both. So they're coming out with both rules kind of in parallel. But I think they said the brace stuff comes in 60 days. The ghost gun stuff comes first.
And see, that's a soft way of doing it. That tells me that they can't get a bill through Congress.
Well, they know that, yeah.
So they're going to go this route.
Yeah, if the Republicans
which opens them up for a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And for the court to decide. So the Supreme Court will have to decide whether or not that's legal or not.
Everybody out there at home, though, should hear that, like, if these are going to be public rulemaking under the APA, these are called MPRMs, and they mean that, like, it is open to public comment. So just like with when the organizations got together about the brace, when they come out with the ghost gun rules, when they come out with the brace rules, we got to get on the radio, we got to get on social media, we got to tell people to put their comments in there. They can be vulgar and cruel comments, or they can be constructive and legally interested comments like, hey, this doesn't make sense and this is why. But by law, the agency has to address every single theme of every single comment. And so just structurally and procedurally, you gotta flood the zone with comments just so we can all have a good basis for good lawsuits at the end.
How is this going to affect Defense Distributed? They want to ban ghost guns. So how's that going to affect you with the with your product that you put out?
Because he's president, right? Like, he's limited in what he can do. He can't just pass a law saying ghost guns are banned. He has to tell the ATF, hey, I want you to maybe define more things as firearms, define more things as frames. Right now in the ghost gun world, lower receivers of handguns and rifles are really the only thing considered firearms, and that's makes sense historically. The GCA was only to it was meant to not burden the gun owner. It was meant to regulate the most essential single component of a firearm. Because before the GCA, there had been lots of regulations about lots of different gun parts, and they got rid of that. So, of course, the institutional memory is lost. Now the ATF is going to attempt to do it again because progressives are in power. But if they attempt to do anything to, quote-unquote, ban ghost guns, I predict that will be to define more individual essential components of firearms as receivers, frames, things that need serial numbers. If that's what happens, I think the ghost gun game doesn't go away. It simply means there are now more things that are so-called 80% receivers. That's my answer, in theory, having not looked at proposed rulemaking.
I'm going to ask you to say that one more time when we come back from the break, because I want to know how this is going to affect you guys, and I want you to say that all over again.
Yeah.
On the other side. Put your hands up. Put them down. Don't move. Put your hands up. Don't move. Put your hands up. Don't move. When you're giving conflicting instructions from law enforcement, what do? They have a gun pointed at you. This is what we're talking about. We're also talking about ghost guns. We're talking about, we're talking about this stabilizing brace. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Coleon Noir, and you're listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individuals are still in their automobiles, do not use your firearm to respond to any of the rager's activities. This is because law enforcement views the fact that you're both still safely in your metal boxes as removing any threat of immediacy that you may be harmed. So please, if you have a gun, somebody is raging against you, forget you have a gun. Don't display it, don't brandish it, don't show it, don't point it, and for God's sake, don't fire it. This could result in a lot of trouble for you. Now let's look at a situation where a road rage incident has escalated. It has escalated to the point where one of the participants has actually gotten out of their vehicle. We recommend that you stay in your vehicle at all times. Do not exit your vehicle, because the person who exits their vehicle is going to be looked at as the aggressor. If the other individual has exited their vehicle and they are not in contact with your vehicle and they do not have a weapon, then do not feel that you can display your weapon in an act of self-defense. People are allowed to just simply stand there and scream at you, scream whatever they want. Until they make a demonstrative effort to try to harm you, there is no immediate threat that would justify displaying or shooting or brandishing your firearm. Now, in the event that the person shows their own weapon, in particular a firearm, the existence of their weapon would give you reasonable belief that there was an immediate threat of harm that would justify an act of...
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. People are flocking here in droves, as we're known for having some of the best quality of life in Texas. Austin boasts the esteemed University of Texas at Austin, one of the top public universities in the nation with over 50,000 students. The Texas State Capitol, one of our oldest and most historic buildings, lies in the heart of the city and represents the people of our great state. Zilker Park boasts an impressive view of the downtown skyline. Hiking trails, Barton Springs, and Lady Bird Lake are all within walking distance, making it a center of Austin recreation. Homeless encampments are yet another one of Austin's main attractions, thanks to Mayor Steve Adler repealing the camping ban. You'll frequently find them under bridges, along highways, or just lining the streets, just as our mayor wanted.
The Austin Fire Department confirmed overnight that the homeless campfire that spread to the historic Buford Tower last night was deliberately set. But officials are still looking into why someone did it.
This has been a message from Come and Talk It, helping you keep Austin safe.
That's right. Keeping Austin safe. Well, I tell you, I want to thank the Mayor Adler, because let me tell you, he's done a wonderful job with the homeless situation here in Austin, Texas. We've turned this beautiful city.
It was a lapse in judgment.
Beautiful city into a homeless mecca. So on behalf of the citizens of Austin, Mayor Adler, we thank you. Now, let's listen to President Biden. He lectures America on how the Constitution is not relevant in his executive orders.
Today, we're taking steps to confront not just the gun crisis, but what is actually a public health crisis. Nothing I'm about to recommend in any way impinges on the Second Amendment. They're phony arguments suggesting that these are Second Amendment rights at stake from what we're talking about. But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. We call it freedom of speech. From the very beginning, you couldn't own any weapon you wanted to own. From the very beginning of the Second Amendment existed, certain people weren't allowed to have weapons. So the idea is just bizarre to suggest that some of the things we're recommending are contrary to the Constitution.
That's right. So he says no amendment is absolute. So let's bring back slavery. That's right. Boy, let's go on out there. Let's get yourself a slave. Let's start beating some people. Lock them up. That's right. Start make them working everywhere. Just bring back slavery. Let's bring back slavery. Because no amendment is absolute.
Amen.
Cody?
This is the most hackneyed excuse for censorship and limitations on our rights. And you hear it all the time now. I hear you can't yell fire in a crowded theater all the time. And, of course, that's bad law. That's bad law for a long time. I actually told that to Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday a few years ago. Actually, you can yell fire at a crowded theater. If and you've been able to for a long time. That was Oliver Wendell Holmes' pseudo-profundity from a few generations past. So all good progressives and communists learn that motto to trot out whenever they like. But in fact, lots of speech is protected by the Second Amendment. But I guess Biden's lie, if we can call it that, stands for the idea that not everything is protected by our blessed Constitution. For me, this species of bad faith argument goes something like this. A liberal will be like, hey, what I'm doing today, by pissing on you, I'm not actually doing that to you. But even if I did, and even if I was, that's still good for you. Okay? So it's just a bad species of argument on multiple levels. And the man chucked his speech, or whoever his speechwriter was, just full of lies about the Second Amendment, how his laws worked. One thing that really occurs to me is like when he talked about Dylan Roof, he didn't use Dylan Roof's name, but he's like, I'm going to close the Charleston loophole. Well, Dylan Roof never had a felony conviction. All these Democrats want is for you to wait 30 days a pop to get a gun. I don't know why they can't just tell you they want you to wait 30 days a pop to get a gun. They have to be like, oh, I want to control ghost guns. No, they just want to starve and strangle the industry. I don't know why they can't just say that, Yeah.
And the person's going to, both those people, all the little cases that they're talking about, all the little shooting incidents around the country that they're focusing on, all those people actually got their guns legally.
You got that thing in there in your quotes about the PLACA, about being able to sue the gun industry. Is that in one of your sound bites?
No,
okay,
it's
so
not.
Joe's like, he's like, if I could get my wish, if the anti-gun fair could come down and give me my wish, oh, Joe, what do you want? If I could have just one, this is the stupid stuff that he pulls in his presser. He says, I would remove the liabilities against gun manufacturers for being sued. Perhaps you remember him saying something like this.
Right.
Well, the way he sells that to the public is in the same disingenuous way, right? Joe Biden wants you to think a gun manufacturer can't get sued for anything, right? And the public goes, that's terrible.
That's actually not true.
Imagine if the tobacco industry had the same protection. No, look at what they have. If SIG builds a gun incorrectly, there's a product defect, you can sue them.
That's right.
Right? And if SIG does something incorrect with their marketing or is fraudulent or whatever, you can sue them.
That's right.
And all these other products liability theories, you can do it to SIG. What you can't do to SIG is if someone misuses the firearm or if someone uses the firearm in a crime, you can't hold SIG liable.
Man, you got some black in your family because you're preaching right now.
Okay. So it's just like, imagine if Joe Biden got his anti-gun wish granted to the auto industry. 49,000 people a year die in automobile accidents, and you can't sue the automakers for making the thing that they killed themselves in, their glistening sarcophagus. The world is resolved. And anyway.
James says it's not about buying guns from dealers. It's about being able to buy guns from private sellers without a background check.
James said this?
Yes.
James.
Yes, James.
Biblical name.
Right.
A name from thousands of years ago.
512-643-5483. Go ahead.
James, stop being a fellow traveler. There's a word, right? Remember from the Communist Revolution, the useful idiots. Stop carrying water for your oppressor and your oppression.
Yes,
Why do that? Is it just fun to sit at home and feel like you're on some team, right? Rooting for your own divestment of intelligence. And
it's like having that slave mentality.
It's not about background checks, James. If it was about background checks, they'd pass a law about background checks.
It's like having that slave mentality. When the slave master get hurt, it's like, we hurt, boss. we hurt, boss. You got to get rid of your slave mentality.
I've been doing this all weekend.
512-643-5483. Come and talk it. I know. They're going to get me one of these days. I'm going to have to have a bulletpress vest coming out of the building.
Are we doing the ammo promo right now?
No, we're not. No ammo
it's
promo.
It's about background checks. No, it's not. It's not about anything with these people. It's about moving the goalposts. It's about changing what the definition of a firearm is.
How is this going to affect Defense Distributed? One more time.
Okay, all I have to say is this. The ATF, we live in a world, James, and all the useful idiots out there, we live in a world of an executive agency that handles guns. All that executive agency can do is tell you what is a gun and is not a gun. It has no other power, James. It can't tell me when to get a background check, you idiot. It can tell me what is a gun and what isn't a gun. That's literally all it's empowered to do, you stooge, you willing stooge. So anyway, the ATF can tell me, Cody, the thing that you have bought here is a firearm. And because it's a firearm, there are other statutes passed by Congress, which we have no power over, that make you get a background check. So in the world of Defense Distributed, we sell things that are not firearms. This is amazing, right? I sell things that are not regulated by the ATF or Joe Biden or require a background check. And as many background checks as you want to put on them, you can't so long as they are not firearms. Defense Distributed will continue to sell things that are not firearms. If Joe Biden's ATF says, well, we've decided these many more things are firearms, then Defense Distributed will make 80% versions of those things. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect good sense to me.
Those things will become no longer firearms. And then you will buy equipment and software from us to take it home and magically turn it into firearms. And James, no background check will occur.
It kills me because some people also think that, when it comes to the shortage of firearms, which is a different topic in itself, the shortage of firearms is caused by, and the price of guns, the fact that gun prices have actually gone up and people are charging more for ammunition. I think people are confused about the fact there's a thing that we call, is economics.
Oh, God. So this reporter from KUT called me. He's like, well, what do you say about all these moms and these lawyers and these actors? What do you say about that willing availability of firearms? I go, man, you're acting, you and these progressive idiots and all the Jameses of the world, you act as if people don't respond to incentives, okay? If you're going to make it harder for me to buy a gun part like a slider and upper, then you're going to make me think more about making that gun part for myself. You're literally going to create more of the ghost gun problem, the so-called ghost gun problem, than you wanted to control in the first place. Uh-oh, I have more of the thing that I hate? Good work, James.
And how do you tell when the person made this item? So what? You go and you ban this, you ban ghost guns. So how do I know when they actually built this ghost gun? You don't know.
And you'll need an act of Congress, James. You'll need more than thoughts and prayers and Joe Biden saying things behind a microphone. So the problem is...
And he says also, how many criminals buying 80% lowers that are being used in crimes?
Who said this?
James.
Someone take the keyboard away from James. James, we wouldn't know, man. We're not required by Congress to find that out.
I mean, I think it's like... Is it like the U.S. Marshals are saying like 1 in 3 weapons that are confiscating are ghost guns now? I think in California.
There's a meme out of California boosted by the ATF saying like within this time frame, 1 of every X guns we found are so-called ghost guns. Again, that doesn't mean they're guns made on 3D printers or by people. It means they're guns, let's say, with defaced or removed serial numbers, right? If you're a criminal and you have a crime gun, you probably don't want a serial number.
They're polymer 80s. That's what most of them seem to be doing. Polymer 80s.
Polymer 80 is the most popular way to make a handgun, and it's the most popular crime gun that is homemade, right? But these are different ways of talking about something that is not the same as what this ATF conflation.
James says, "Bro, do you care?"
Do I care what?
That's it.
Do I care?
Lots of laughs.
No, that's just it.
Laughing out loud. Do you care?
He's just right. Because the politics is personal. It's ridiculous to sit on the radio and talk about the mechanics of how this executive order will function because all James and the American public care about is, hey, man, but don't you care?
All right, we come back from the break. Going to listen more to President Biden. He turns on the empathy of gun violence. We're going to listen to that and some other things he has to say on his speech earlier this week. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Folks, this is Doug Man Jones. And I get my gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It. I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government.
After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, I'm going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're talking about ghost guns. We're talking about stabilizing braces. A lot of people are concerned, what's going to happen when this current administration, by the guise of the Department of Justice, decides to come after stabilizing braces, which are AR pistols, which there are like, how many of them out there in the world? Can we Google that and see how many AR pistols are out there?
There's more than 10.
Not enough.
There's more in this room.
I think there's
more than 10 in this room.
Something like 5 million.
5 million. Yeah, it's in the millions. I know that. So you're going to turn millions of citizens into felons overnight by doing this, and you're banking on the fact that people actually will find out that people actually pay attention to the news. Most people don't know what's going on in the news. So how do you get the word out to let someone know that there's something that illegally purchased is now banned? I mean, seriously. And ignorance of the law is no excuse. So you can be charged with a felony and not even know it.
If they start banning things that people already own, it endangers the lives of the citizens and the police officers going to collect these because these citizens are going to resist it. It's just a bad all the way around. Yeah. It's just lining people up to get shot. It's not good.
So what you're saying is the Democrats are coming up with new rules and new laws that are going to affect people more so and give police more powers.
Yeah, that, and it's endangering police lives as well. Like, I don't want to see a police officer put his life in risk.
I want you to repeat after me. Say the Democrats are going to give more powers to police. I want you to repeat after
The
me.
Democrats are giving more power to police. They're a right-wing institution.
I want to make sure we understand that and what
Of
we're
course,
talking about.
they are. It's just a right-wing institution, just like the Republicans.
All right, so early this week, I made a statement. I said that that in 2020, people of color purchased more firearms than any other time in the history of this nation.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2021, now the U.S. government will add restrictions to make it harder to purchase in the future. So here we are, 2020, BC, before COVID. More people purchase firearms. Now 2021 AC. After COVID, the federal government is now going to come up with these restrictions. And so, and I say that, it's going to affect everybody, not just the black community. I just like to say that because I like to throw that out there just to irritate some people. And then so someone came back to me and they said, something to the fact that, let's see, what did he say?
This is our friend James.
Yeah.
James, where you at? Call us in, bro.
He's going to call.
Yeah, I wouldn't
He
mind.
said, why are guns prices so doggone high? I can't say what he said. And why, coincidentally, are people of color the number one consumers of this particular product? No conspiracy theory, all facts. Well, my response to that was, when the pandemic started and countries shut down, that means is manufacturers, some manufacturers actually shut down. And a lot of your manufacturers shut down, especially when the entire country shut down. So one of the largest gun distributors in this nation actually closed their doors for an entire month. And so when that happened, that means, everything came to a standstill. Your manufacturers are not manufacturing. When you have a distributor that shuts down, so things are not moving like they normally do. And so in that same breath, we had the highest demand of guns in the history of this country. More people are requiring firearms, asking for firearms, purchasing firearms in the history of this nation ever. And that's hard for some people to understand. I don't know where people have been in the last year. So Brazil makes like a third of our gun parts and firearms for the U.S. I don't know if you know this or not. A lot of your gun parts do not come from the United States of America. They come from other countries. So when these other countries were affected by COVID-19, they shut down. No gun parts coming from those countries. Guess what? They're so sick. You can't just stick it in the mail and ship it over to the United States. It has to clear customs. I can't even talk right now. It has to clear customs. So, it takes time for that to clear customs. So now it's called supply and demand. Right, Zach?
Basic economics.
Supply and demand. So if you woke up in 2021, you just realized that gun control is racist, you're late to the game. Gun control has always been racist. But this fact that where we are today, when it comes to the price of certain ammunition, the price of guns, that has nothing to do with racism. That has something to do with supply and demand, economics. The supply is low, demand is high, so people are charging more. The prices are going up from the manufacturer to the distributor to the dealer on the road. It has nothing to do with who's purchasing, because everybody's buying, not just one particular group of people. Everyone's buying.
Asian Americans.
People don't walk to the gun store and you're like, oh, this is a black person walking to the gun store. Let me charge them 50% more. That's not happening. That's not reality. So if you're saying that, you're wrong. So stop throwing that out there. It has nothing to do with race when it comes to the price that we're seeing, of merchandise right now.
All right, Cargill, I got to say something. You said something.
And my
to
name
me-
is Michael.
All right, Michael.
There you go, because I will come across this table.
All right. One thing you said to me, it was a while ago, but you're like, now it isn't the best time to buy, but it is the best time to buy because you got to be careful where you're buying from because these
That's right.
manufacturers are spitting out so many guns. They're coming out with defects.
That's right.
And we can still sue them because of those defects. What do you have to say on that? Like,
Well, and I'm seeing that in ammunition. So I'm seeing a lot of ammo that's produced right now. There's some ammo manufacturers that are producing so fast, they're working 24/7, and I'm saying, not enough powder, issues like that. So you got to kind of be careful because they're trying to produce as fast as they can because demand is so high. And so, everyone's buying more product. That's the bottom line. You walk to the gun store. You walk into the grocery store, eggs, milk, everything's more expensive. Everything's more expensive now. And so it's not just firearms. It's not just ammunition. It's not just guns. All products are more expensive now because the demand is so high and the supply is low. And things were shut down. When you shut manufacturers down, you shut facilities down, You know, and they literally said, you know, hey, let's shut down for 2 weeks. We're going to shut the entire United States down for 2 weeks. Who would have thought in 2018, when you're in 2018, they said to you, we're going to shut the entire country down. What would you have thought?
It would have seemed absurd, like
you're like
something fake,
right.
Nothing. It would never. Conspiracy theories was
And
the first
now
thing that came to mind.
You got to look at what does that actually do. If everything is shut down, nothing's being made, that's going to affect things down the road. It's going to be hard to come back from that.
Biden's executive orders is nothing but a big ship stuck in the canal, and you get all these judges. They're just going to dig it out. That's it.
And you go.
It's just going to take some time, and they're just going to reverse it. That's such as American democracy.
Same analogy. You go back to that, and you say, okay, well, if he bans stabilizing braces, how is that going to affect everything? One, not everyone's going to find out. You're gonna have some people being charged with felonies and not even know why they're being charged with a felony because they're not gonna find out, get the word out that actually what they possess legally is actually illegal now.
Has that happened with bump stocks yet? Has anyone been charged with a bump stock for illegal possession?
Yes, it has happened.
People have been charged.
Yes, it has happened. I don't remember the specific case, but I have read about it.
We're working that stuff through the courts. You know, our case, the bump stock case, and I know people have heard about.
It's been an
stocks.
attachment to other assaults. It's always been an associative charge, not the primary.
And people have talked about bump stocks. You know, other organizations. You know, there are several bump stock lawsuits that are out there. And let me make this crystal clear: there's only one bump stock lawsuit that actually has had its day in court. That's
one is that?
One lawsuit in the entire country, and that is Michael Cargill versus the Department of Justice. The only case that actually has gone to court. No other case has gone to court. So maybe some other cases have had some decisions that have gone up as far as what the definition of a bump stock has gone to their court of appeals. But no other case actually had its day in court other than Michael Cargill versus the Department of Justice. That's the only case. And so we need all the other cases to make their way through the court system so we can all meet up in the Supreme Court and let the Supreme Court make a decision. That's how it's going to be. That's how the decision's going to be have to be made across the entire United States. It's got to make it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it just seems like we have to wait for so long to get our piece of plastic back. Like, we have to go through all these. Like, I mean, this must be quite costly. Do you know what I mean? To file these lawsuits and whatnot.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things where.
All right, let's go back. We don't have enough time to listen to Biden.
I don't think it's costly. It's just they're pushing an ideology, and they want people not to have guns. They want us to be defenseless, so we can't defend ourselves. Like, I honestly think it's.
Yeah, you're preaching to the converted, but it's one of those things. It's like
it's funny because some people that are like, the Republicans are in charge. You know, why would the Republicans do this and da 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 da? And now they're Democrats in charge. Oh, the Democrats going to take care of us, and you don't realize that the things that this president's doing, this administration is doing, is going to give more powers to the police, give people more interaction with law enforcement. And we just came out of Black Lives Matter. If you really think Black Lives Matter, you would not support universal background checks.
Mm-hmm.
Universal background checks is going to give you more interaction with law enforcement. That's going to give more black people more interaction with law enforcement because now, how did you get that gun? Is that gun legal? Did you legally, acquire this firearm? And that's going to affect you. If you don't see this, if you live with a convicted felon, you have a felon that's in your household, one of your family members or someone like that, they've done something 40 years ago, they've been an outstanding citizen, guess what? Universal background check passes, that person's not going to be able to be in possession of a firearm. They're not going to be able to purchase a firearm if universal background check passes.
If there's a felon in your household, you cannot own a gun.
You're not... Currently, right now, in Texas, the way the law is, if you're a convicted felon, you can only have a gun at home for personal protection after 5 years.
Okay.
All right, so currently, where the law is. So after 5 years, you can get a gun as a private sale or as a gift. You cannot walk to the gun store and buy it. If they pass universal background checks, that person will never be able to purchase a gun, period, because all gun sales will have to be done in the gun store.
What is the point of even having those blockades if they can just go walk around it anyway?
Well, that's why you got to be careful what you ask for, Got to be careful. This is called irreparable consequences of bad legislation.
It's just they produce all these. It's like they set this up to sell it to their own base, and they don't. I think Anthony's smiling over there. I think he wants.
This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Jack Jones here, and I get my gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings because you're not in custody. If you're put in handcuffs but you say something incriminating on your own without being questioned, those statements can and will be used against you because you're not being interrogated. You're just starting to spout off. This is why it's imperative that you know your rights and you shouldn't rely on the police to read them to you. Affirmatively invoke your rights. Say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent and my right to my attorney. Once you do that, the police legally shouldn't continue questioning you without your attorney present. But remember, there's a second part to this equation. After invoking your rights, you must exercise those rights. That means you have to keep your mouth closed. Protect yourself. Don't let the legal system take advantage of you after an incident. And Law Shield members, if you've been involved in a self-defense incident, remember to call the emergency hotline and speak with your independent program attorney.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so now President Biden turns on empathy on gun violence. He says gun violence in this country is an epidemic. Let's hear what he has to say.
Gun violence in this country is an epidemic. Let me say it again. Gun violence in this country is an epidemic, and it's an international embarrassment. You know, we saw it again last night as I was coming to the Oval Office. I got the word that in South Carolina, a physician with his wife, 2 grandchildren, and a person working at his house was gunned down, all 5. So many people, so many of the people sitting here today know that well, unfortunately. You know, they know what it's like when the seconds change your life forever. I've had the pleasure of getting to meet in awful circumstances many of you who've lost your children, your husbands, your wives.
All right, so and he says, so gun violence in this country is an epidemic. You know, so what do we say about abortion? Is that an epidemic? Just throwing it out there. That's an epidemic.
Depends who you ask.
Yeah, exactly, because more babies are aborted than more people shot by guns. Oops. Don't want to talk about that, right, do you? My telephone number is 512-643-5483. I don't care what you have to say.
James.
What you have to say. All right, so let's go. All right, James, come on in here and get some of this.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen?
How you doing, sir?
What up?
Hey.
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Hey, I'm in Baltimore today. I was in transit just tuning in. But
Baltimore, Maryland.
I think I'm going to bring in the objective opinion today because, to me, I'm listening to a lot of what's being said. And I always go back to when Mr. Trump was president, and I look at the similarities. You know, everybody's in an uproar that this man has asked the ATF or the Department of Justice to look at bump stocks, right? I'm sorry, to look at the pistol braces. Well, if anyone had a pistol from the beginning, we all knew that because it was classified as a pistol, it couldn't be shouldered. Then one day, the ATF says it can be shouldered. Then the ATF reviews it again and says, well, maybe it can't. I'm like, why when a Democrat is in office, the gun community all of a sudden wants to raise holy hell, but yet when a Republican can say the same exact stuff, it's almost like his words go unheard, or people pretend he didn't say what he just said.
It's because it's like they blindly, it's like the blind leading the blind. And you got to go back let's go back to Ronald Reagan. Let's go back to California. You know, the Black Panther stood on the steps of the Capitol of California and carried rifles. And you know what happened after that?
Exactly, the more for that.
The more for that. That's right.
It was very profound.
So no, you can't just say the more for that. You got to say Ronald Reagan is responsible for gun control in California. Ronald Reagan is responsible for gun control in California, the Republican.
See, we got to go back a little bit further than Reagan, because this is something that I teach when we're doing firearms education and training. Ronald Reagan was a student of Nixon. Richard Nixon helped create the language that you hear the Democrats love to say today. Nixon said he didn't see why any American should have a loaded gun, and he focused on what they considered Saturday night specials, right? Reagan said the same thing. Reagan said he doesn't see why anybody should be able to walk the streets of America with a loaded firearm. The gun community will say nothing about these guys.
Nothing.
Who helped write the language, but yet raise holy hell over a Democrat who's doing nothing but echoing what these guys said.
And Trump got in office, he said, what? Take the guns first, due process later? Yeah.
I bet you $100.
My call-in numbers 512-643-5483. Trump said, take the guns first, due process later. He's worse than them all.
And nobody said nothing.
I wouldn't say nothing. I mean, like, I have to be honest with you. I was a very ardent Trump supporter throughout his presidency, and that was one of the first red flags that he said, which made me stop supporting him. Like, I didn't vote for him in 2016, and I didn't vote for him either again.
But why didn't the gun community? Hold on. If the NRA endorsed this man, right, and he was on TV saying the NRA has power over you, they have no power over me, right?
Yes.
Why didn't the NRA or the gun community attack Donald Trump the way go after Biden?
We did. I did.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
I'm not going to say
show. We did.
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to speak for the entire gun community, but I'm going to say for myself is that as soon as I saw Trump acting tyrannical, as I believe he did, then I just didn't vote for the man. And that's the most powerful statement you can make.
Social media. Can I go back on the NRA right now? Can I go on their page, right? And can I find one negative thing that they said about Donald Trump?
Well, then I think the answer is very obvious. Like you shouldn't use the NRA to protect your gun rights.
And let's bring. Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah,
that's the obvious answer.
How about gun owners of America? Can I find one thing that gun owners of America?
It's down to you.
No, it's all pay for play, and I'm not willing to pay, and so they're not willing to play with me because I haven't had no one, gun owners of America, not the NRA. No one has helped me in any lawsuit that I've ever filed against our government, and I've filed several lawsuits against our government.
Second Amendment Foundation. Can I find one of the major gun rights organizations that scolded Donald Trump when he said, I don't like suppressors, and I'm thinking about banning them?
All I got to say is they're all about pay for play because no one helps Michael Cargill. And I'm the black guy that's actually filing lawsuits against our government about all of our rights, not just black folks or white folks.
But they help create the tone and the culture within the gun community. They are the big players that attract everybody to the conventions. They are the ones that say, I'm protecting your Second Amendment rights. Send me your $35 because without
what you should do is you should abstain those groups.
Let me bring into the conversation Cody Wilson. Cody, line 2. You don't jumped out the studio, jumped into the car on us.
How can I help educate this man?
You can start by recording from inside the studio. It'd be a good help.
All right, Cody, go ahead.
I was on my way to a nice meal. Look, I don't know what to contribute here other than, here's a Bible quote for you, right? Like, crumbs from the master's table. Why do you settle for this orange man bad bull crap, man? All right, the NRA declared bankruptcy, right? Because it's a bankrupt organization. All right, like this gun movement is doing exactly what it needs to do as a movement, as a culture, to protect the Second Amendment. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. What are you, paid opposition? Go home, man. Don't you have a job or something?
James.
What it said it was going to do, it would hold everybody to the same standard.
Oh, what it said. Well, look, man, I don't know what castle in the sky you're living in, dude. That man was president of the United States, and you know how power works. Is this a mystery to you that you go around as the NRA? You're not going to talk smack about the president of the United States if you hope to maintain power and influence? Why isn't Moms Demand Action talking smack about that senile fool Joe Biden? Well, you know why. You know why, because you know how power works. So why are you asking me and messing with our culture obvious questions which have nothing to do about protecting our Second Amendment in the face of an obvious infringement?
Because you
The
probably
Second Amendment
voted for a
doesn't say-
man.
No, it's a
that said he
rhetorical
was going-
question, James.
You
It's a
you
rhetorical
probably voted
question.
for a man.
I don't care what you think, man. I don't vote. And if you are a voter, you're a fucking idiot. So listen,
Don't say that.
you-
Don't
well,
curse.
you
Don't
have
curse.
mil-
Don't curse. Preach.
You have millions of people who voted for a man because they thought that he was Second Amendment, and he turned around and did the exact opposite.
Yeah, but he didn't get a second term, though, did he?
All right, go ahead,
Right.
Cody.
All right. The Second Amendment doesn't say right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, provided you get a background check. What are you talking about? This man's sitting in Mar-a-Lago living out his obsolescence, dude. He'll be in a jail cell in 2 years. You have a gun culture that's meant to be protected. I don't want to hear this orange man bad crap from you, dude. This is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You are either a paid asset or you are a willing idiot of forces which know that you are that idiot and hope to keep you enslaved, James. Go home.
James.
All right, so you finish your tirade again. I guess the truth really hurts. If we are members of the Second Amendment community, should not we hold everybody to the same standard, yes or no, including presidents?
Kinda.
What are you talking about?
See, that's the problem. You don't even get it. You're so politicized where you're looking at one party over another to where two men could say the same exact thing because it's not your party saying what the other guy is saying. You're okay with it. So Trump could say, okay, I'm going to get the ATF to ban bump stocks. They're gone. Nobody says shit, right? But I say nobody says shit. The gun community is gone.
He's gone.
Okay. All right. So we lost James there. Go ahead, Cody. They're both gone. Oh, okay. Or we lost them both. All right. So, man, I tell you, it got kind of heated there.
So it sounded like what James was saying. His thought is that Trump could say whatever he wanted about guns and enact any gun control, and it was okay with everyone.
Right.
And I don't know who he's speaking for here.
Agreed.
Because I remember vividly us talking about red flag laws, bump stock bans on the show. You have a court case against the ATF.
Right.
So,
And I didn't vote for
yeah.
the guy. Like, it's my first opportunity to vote, and I chose not to vote for him because of all this shit. So, like,
Yeah, they can't say the S word.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you can't say the S. You can't say that. All right. So, as always, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun. You listen to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.